Namibia's western region, its Wild West, is an inhospitable and uninhabitable desert. Only a few local tribes and adaptable animals live out here. There are no cell towers and few services. It can take weeks to reach some of its territory by automobile, and some places only by small plane or boat. It is a hypnotic and spiritual place of flowing dunes and craggy shores, once scattered with diamonds, but now with the dead bodies of thousands of its prospectors. Richard Taylor, a well-seasoned world traveler, invited me to join him on this adventure trip to Namibia. This trip was planned by Henry Cookson, who organizes rugged adventure tours around the world. We flew west out of Windhoek, the capital, and landed in a field ridden with the phenomena still not understood by scientists, fairy circles. Our local guide here attempted to describe in more detail the origin of these fairy circles.
So can anything grow in those?
Nothing grows in the actually. If you take the plants from your garden and transplant them in here, you keep giving them water and getting another. So what happened, this plant would grow nice, and it will only last for a short period, then it will die. So, but if you move the soil from here and go and put it in your garden, things will grow nice without any problem. Yeah, because you couldn't really say it's poison. If it was poison, things couldn't grow if you take the soil, because it's like you're taking the whole poison back into your garden.
But it's all conjecture. The local tribes say they are footprints of the gods. Others say it is a result of bad breath from an ancient underground dragon. And some say aliens made them. In the morning, we headed out for a balloon ride to take in the view of the great Namib Desert. Namib means vast place. It is a broad expanse of gravel plains and dunes that stretch along Namibia's entire 1,200-mile coastline from Angola to South Africa. We then headed to the dunes of the Sossusvlei. Namibia has the highest dunes in the world. Within the Sossusvlei Valley is a place called Deadvlei. Deadvlei was once an oasis with bristling acacia trees when a river flowed here. Afterwards, the river changed course, leaving the dead acacia trees blackened in vivid contrast to the white and red sands. It is a strangely spiritual place. If not for the many tourists here, we would have felt we were inside the deeply disturbed child's dream state mind in the psychological thriller, The Cell, which was filmed here. Leaving Sossusvlei, we met our new pilot and guide, Bertus Schoeman, a German born here in Namibia. Bertus flew us north up the coast of the Namib Desert into the Skeleton Coast. Earliest Namibian ancestors called the region the land God made in anger. The Skeleton Coast is a large graveyard of ships and men. Most of the remains of ships and men come from zealous diamond prospectors at the turn of the last century, many of whom were Germans. The Skeleton Coast is one of the richest sources of diamonds on Earth. The prospectors that came here dreadfully feared this coast, but their desire for diamonds was even greater. Stories of large diamond finds right on the beach lured many to this coast. Even after the government outlawed entry here in 1907, men would come illegally and form outposts. This is one outpost still standing after 100 years.
No, they discovered diamonds when? 1880s, around about there. So they organized the expedition from Germany by ship. And the ship came here and dropped them off on the beach. So these miners were totally dependent on food and water from outside. You know, as you can see out here, is nothing. Just absolute desolate. So here they mine the diamonds. They use brooms to sweep it up. At night, if there's moonlight, they go out and they lie on their stomachs and they look along the floor of the desert to see if they can see any diamonds. So many diamonds were there, just lying on the surface. In 1918, they all packed up and left everything as is.
Some men made it out alive and lived to spend their newfound wealth, but other diamond hunters were arrested and jailed or shipwrecked and cast away here. Many of these men would die of hunger and thirst, grasping large jars filled with pea-sized diamonds, while others would bury the jars in the sand right before passing away. Only abandoned camps and unmarked graves remain here. There still exist remnants of a cart that transported diamonds to the ships that did return.
This place seems kind of eerie to me.
Ghosts.
Yes. I just want.
Pioneers of the past, German pioneers from the previous century looking for diamonds. And it's a long way to come from Germany into the unknown. So come here, just imagine in Germany somebody convinced you to put all your money into a venture to be offloaded here on the beach and to find diamonds, look for diamonds. I'm sure a lot of people looked, big eyes, they will make it. A lot of them didn't make it.
We took off again with a small consumer camera attached to the wing to fly up the coastline, searching for shipwrecks. More than 1,000 vessels of various sizes litter the skeleton coast. Some of these wrecked ships can be found as much as 150 feet inland, as the desert slowly moves westward, reclaiming the sea. In 1942, a ship named the Dunedin Star, carrying 85 passengers, on its way from Germany to South Africa, ran aground on an underwater shoal. Several rescue vessels were dispatched, but they all failed to rescue the passengers due to the rugged, crashing waves of this place. A plane was then dispatched to drop supplies, but it also crashed because of the sandstorms fouling the engine. But after 26 days of near starvation and death, the rescue was successful and nearly all of the passengers were saved. The Benguela Current causes much of the destruction here. This frigid, rough current with deadly gale-force winds, dense sea fog, and jagged coastal rock has killed many men and wrecked many vessels. But while the Benguela Current has taken the lives of many men, it also gives life. Coastal marine life has the highest concentration here of anywhere on Earth, and this marine life, the best fishing in the world, feeds a huge overpopulation of 300,000 seals at Cape Cross. We did not venture to land, however. It is said that looking at this seal colony up close is akin to entering a torture camp, where bloody baby seals are abandoned to die and eat each other in an attempt to survive. Bertus flew us inland toward Mount Brandberg, the highest peak in Namibia at 8,500 feet. 1 million years ago, it was a volcano. It is now a mountain surrounded by a strange moonscape plateau of volcanic rock formed into what are called mica schists. We landed in this barren wasteland, a place called Moon Valley, which reminded me of Dante's Inferno. I found myself in a dark wood, for the straight path had been lost. I entered along a deep and savage road, the way a good soul never passes. Abandon hope, all ye who enter here.
Have you ever read Dante's Inferno?
No, but I've heard of it.
Yeah.
And it, I can't remember, but I do remember something about the hell and stuff like that. When sand gets compressed, it is turns into quartzite. Quartzite is very resistant to weathering. And when mud is compressed, high pressure, high temperature during continental collision, it changes to mica schist. So the layer crumple up. They call it slump structures. If you look on this side, you can clearly see the wriggling in the rock.
Flying to the northwest corner of Namibia, we arrived at our camp on the Kanemi River, the natural border with Angola. It was built by Bertus's father, Lou Showman, and was the first camp here in the Skeleton Coast. The local Himba people are hired and trained to work and oversee the camp. No one else lives within hundreds of miles of this place, and the only entrance is by small plane or boat. The Himba are an ethnic group of about 40,000, most of them living in this Kanemi River region. After a night in the camp, we took a small boat across the Kanemi to visit the local Himbas in Angola. The Kanemi River flows from the northeast Angolan highlands south to the border with Namibia, continuing west along the border until it reaches the Atlantic Ocean. Here lurk some of the fiercest crocodiles in the world.
Yeah.
So they're Himba, right?
Yeah, they come and drink. There's one. There's a man coming to wash or get water.
The Himba subsist in the same way they have for hundreds of years. They are a matriarchal society living from the land, where women perform the majority of tasks, feeding and milking the animals, raising the children, and governing the village. Members of a family typically dwell in a homestead, a small circular hamlet of huts and work shelters that surrounds an ancestral fire and a central livestock enclosure.
Or they also make a fire, a special fire, between grandmother's hut and the calves. There's an imaginary line. On this line you sometimes see 4 stones. That's the site of the holy fire, and there you can talk to the forefathers. So they have this belief that if you die, you become a forefather, and you have the ability to talk to the gods. Yeah, and so the children left behind on earth through a holy fire or a special tree, the Omamborambonga tree, they can actually talk to these forefathers.
The Himba women cover themselves with otiji, a mixture of butter, fat, and ochre, to protect themselves from the sun. The mixture gives their skin a reddish tinge, which symbolizes Earth's rich red color as well as life-giving red blood. This reddish tinge is the Himba ideal of beauty. The Himba's history is fraught with disasters, most especially during Namibia's quest for independence. The Germans colonized the country in 1884 and began to eradicate the natives. In 1904, the Himba suffered an attempted genocide by the German colonial power under the brutal general Lothar von Trotha, who earlier decimated 75,000 Herero and Nama, other native tribes here in Namibia. Von Trotha's words are historical record. I, the great general of the German soldiers, send this letter to the natives. Their nation must now leave the country. If it refuses, I shall compel it to do so. Any native found inside the German frontier will be executed. I shall spare neither women nor children. I shall give the order to drive them away and fire on them. It is my policy to use force with terrorism and even brutality. Some historians state that the German genocide in Namibia was a model used by the Nazis in the Holocaust. But since Namibia's independence, the Himba have regrown in number and resettled here. We gave one local woman a ride from Angola to Namibia across the Kanemi. Have you had any run-ins with crocodiles?
One of the Himba ladies was caught here by crocodile.
How did she get bit?
She got, when she was fetching water. She came down to fetch water, And she must have done this act of fetching water so many times, and she suddenly didn't think properly. She reached down, and the crocodile came and took her on her breast, tore her breast off, and bit her on the inside of the leg. Yeah, it's chunks of meat that were torn off. Her breast was torn off, chunks of meat, but no broken artery. No, but she managed to get away. Went up to Johannes, and Johannes phoned me on the radio to tell me about it. So we sent in the aeroplane to take her out.
That's nice.
And she spent 3 months in hospital, no? Yeah, 3 months we had to look after her in the hospital. Just imagine this lady. She's never been away from here in her life. She's never been in an aeroplane.
Oh,
being
man.
carried in an aeroplane into the city, into an ambulance, into a hospital. Can you imagine that? We were
Good luck.
We were the best witch doctors around.
Yeah.
They might be coming to you.
But now they kind of come to you for everything.
They did. You know, one guy with a hole in the leg came to me, and he said he wanted to go to that hospital. I said no. The hole was not big enough. You can't just, you know, that costs like $18,000.
The Himba fear a modern disaster, that of forced upheaval if a proposed hydroelectric dam is built on the Kanemi. In February 2012, the Himba submitted a protest to the United Nations stating, "We will never give our consent to have our river being blocked, the life in the waters and that dependent of it being threatened, and to have our environment being destroyed. We would lose our graveyards and sacred places in those areas that would be flooded or destroyed through the construction of the dam. The population would become refugees, forced to move away. Moreover, the beneficiaries of the hydroelectricity will be those that live in the cities, and not us." While the Himbas and Germans have a tortured past, Bertus himself has a peaceful, symbiotic relationship with the Himba, having been conducting tours here for decades.
I've been around here conducting tours since 1977.
And your dad used to do it before you?
Yes. My father was instrumental in creating the Skeleton Coast Park. Once he stopped practicing as a lawyer, and he wanted to bring people here. He realized that somehow we must protect this area.
Bertus flew us south to Moe Bay to meet our new overland guide, Peter de Vet, who will drive us into the barren interior to meet Flip Stander, a modern-day hermit living in his research vehicle among the desert lions. This is a restricted part of the Skeleton Coast, where only a handful of scientists and government officials are allowed.
First of all, this is not a tourism area, it's a park, it's a prohibited park. So it's since the diamond thing, 30, 40, 50 years, this park has never been open to anybody. There's no daily tourism activities that's going on around here. It's completely deserted, but it's one of my favorite areas. I came here with my dad when I was like 6 years old for the first time. So we're about 75 kilometers south of the closest petrol station. And north, as you know, there's nothing from here.
We first met Flip here as he loaded up several car batteries and water so that he could survive for several months in the bush. He has a small room here where he keeps his library and a few mementos of his work.
Nice and sheltered here.
Before heading inland to the Unib area to rejoin Flip, we camped on a gemstone-laden beach. Gemstone beaches abound near Moe Bay. The semi-precious gemstones here are polished by the waves and found scattered among the centuries-old human and animal skeletons.
And that's where it's got its name from, because of all the skulls of animals and all the wood and all the shipwrecks and everything lying on the beach. That's where the name Skeleton Coast comes from. Not just the fact to be out here, you think there's nothing out here, but there's so much out here. There's the smallest, tiniest little thing, living creatures, from plants to little beetles to little lizards to snakes, and then up to lions, and elephants. This is called a ghost crab. And isn't it funny? We're in the Skeleton Coast, and we've got ghost crabs.
On our final day on the beach of the Skeleton Coast, we heard several tragic stories, including one near here, where the skeleton remains of a 12-year-old girl were found in a hut belonging to diamond thieves who had abandoned the camp, leaving behind nothing but empty whiskey bottles and the girl.
Very spiritual, and also, yeah, you get that feeling when you're here, eh? Because you're so isolated and you're so far away from everything that you should feel vulnerable when you're here. And you're right, you know, when you sleep here, also the sound of the waves, you know, the wind and the sand and this barren land with nobody around, you know, does give you that feeling that, you know, there must be some spirits in the air here.
People get caught up in things they think are going to make them happy that don't.
No, you're right. I've also done that in my life. I thought this is going to make me happy, but it didn't. It did not make me happy. In fact, it made me even more sad, you know, more depressed. I just came out of a serious depression, man. Yeah. I stopped my tablets about 3 months ago. Stopped drinking 4 months ago. Last year, let's rewind 4 months, and then rewind 1 year. That year was the worst year of my entire life. And I don't want to have it again. And it's basically forgetting what life is about and the simple things in life. And you know what? Love is very important. It's so important. And people think that they just fucking forget about it. They just forget about it. You know, it's just, you know, you walk into town and you're like, guys, what's going on with you? You know? Yeah, nah.
We rejoined the elusive Flip about 50 miles inland, where he was tracking lions with radio equipment. Flip lives in his truck year-round, tracking and darting the lions, installing radio collars on them to gather information about their life and migration.
Where Flip fits in with the conservancies is these lions, he will tell you the same thing. The lions actually belong to the people, to the conservancies, and they are the ones that's supposed to look after them and be responsible for their conservation. The point of this is to first of all look after the desert lions. For me, that's the point.
I started getting involved in this with the desert lions in the 80s, and at that time there were quite a number of lions that regularly moved along the coast. I remember seeing a seal, a lion on a seal that she'd caught, and it was just on the beach, and it was the most incredible thing, you know. And I will never forget that. That left such an impression on me, and in fact, you know, I think that experience is probably still what drives me with this project.
We found a high sand dune to camp for the night. When the wind calmed, Flip gave us a presentation about his work.
The desert population is small, living under really low density. The population estimates about 120, but they live in an area, you know, 5-10 times the size of lions anywhere else. Nowhere else in Africa can you see lions on the coast, or, you know, in this type of area, and they're just in such amazing condition. It's like the whole super athlete concept. You know, in a way, this is a national asset to Namibia, and we need to do whatever we can to try and conserved there. I mean, that type of image, where could you possibly see that? The only ones that survived, a long time was XPL 3 and 10. The others were all killed. The actual hunter that pays, he's innocent actually. You think he's doing a good thing. They get hoodwinked because of the money.
So it looks from looking at the vehicle like you'd sleep in the back. Where do you sleep?
Yeah, there's no space basically. I sleep on the ground next to the car. But then again, I work mostly at night. So sleeping is like latter part of the night and then in the day. So I would look for a place like this with a bit of shade.
We stayed with Flip for several days, tracking lions and setting up camera traps. These cameras are motion sensitive and capture lions as they move. Unfortunately, we did not see any lions while with him. Flip spotted one while we slept, but by morning she had gone. We were lucky, however, to see an extremely rare cheetah right after a kill.
Yeah, I mean, seeing a cheetah out here is very rare. The density is incredibly low. It's amazing that cheetahs can survive out here. They do, but they're very few in a very, very big space. So you don't see them all that often. I see the tracks of them a lot, but on average, I might only see a cheetah once a year.
So
And to find a cheetah on a kill, so close to the track, I tell you, the probability of that is frightening. There are many zeros. And you have to calculate the chances of finding that. So very rare. So we're very lucky to see that.
So
yeah, no, it literally just killed it. I mean, there's the saliva of the cheetah on the neck of the little springbok where it basically killed it. It was still wet. So I mean, it literally happened.
obviously you're doing something much different than probably 99% of, or more than that, of the people in the world. Especially being alone. So what do you think about that?
Well, you catch me on not too bad a day because I had 2 nights of relatively okay sleep. If you'd asked me this question the day that we met, I think, no, stuff this. I want to go and get a day job. I don't mind, I'll work in a supermarket packing racks. I want a salary, and I want a pension, and I want holidays. Because I'm sick and tired of just night after night and for no good. You get sort of down when the hours get very long, but the passion is there. I mean, that's just at that particular moment. What drives it is a dire battery system is now mounted. Sat in this vehicle. This is my control unit and going up to a group of lions, and having a situation where they trust your vehicle, because you've always behaved nicely with them, and then to stay with them for 10 days, day and night. When they sleep in the day, you sleep in the car, or you go just a little bit away and have a few hours sleep, and then back with them before they get active. So you share their life with them. You see what they get up to, and I tell you, something happens after the second or third day at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, when you just you become part of this thing that they do. Suddenly you just get into this energy of them and what they do, and it is the most incredible thing.
On our final night camping in the desolate bush of Namibia, I dreamt of a lion whose face and mane encompassed my entire field of vision. Slowly, the face morphed into a bearded lion face of Flip, who had become one with this regal beast. This land of barren, roadless deserts, this place of coasts strewn with bones of the dead, of spiritual sand dunes stretching back millennia, and with natives fiercely holding on to their ancient ways despite the onslaught of modernity. This is the Wild West of Namibia.